Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas. Today, wearing my favorite Rice Insurance, the best industry to work in. I'm pretty convinced that they changed the color of the shirt this year for me because I loved it last year but hated the color. So thank you, Rice organizers, Amy and Katerina for doing that. Today, I have with me Michael Fiedel, co-founder and COO at PolicyFly, and co-founder, managing director at InsurTech Ohio, although today we're really talking about PolicyFly. Michael, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
It's going good, Tony. It's a pleasure to be on one of these illustrious episodes that I've been paying attention to for quite some time.
Thank you. Uh, so we're recording this on July 8th, Monday, July 8th, 2024, right after the 4th of July 4-day weekend, because I am pretty convinced that roughly 75% of the insurance and insurtech industry took Friday off because right, 4th of July was a Thursday. And so in our industry where people get lots of PTO, I'm sure everybody took Friday, and the other 25% work from home, and they didn't take PTO, but they were like keeping one eye on email while like barbecuing.
Yeah,
Right. So I hope that you had a great Fourth of July in Columbus. What was it? Was it a good one?
it was a good one. I snuck a fifth day in there, and I spent it on Lake Erie, which Columbus is beautiful,
Fantastic.
but being on Lake Erie for the 4th of July is a little bit better.
Fantastic. We had family in town from Columbus, and we've had a lot of fun.
Very nice.
All right. So we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is PolicyFly?
PolicyFly is a specialty insurance focused policy management platform that is specifically distribution enabled. So, unlike policy management systems of the past that were more back office oriented, PolicyFly is web based and fully capable of providing a digital experience and automating many of the workflows that not only underwriters have to work through day in and day out, but that agents and brokers that they are trying to distribute their products to are also looking to digitize in order to seamlessly streamline their workflow as well.
All right. So
How
am
did I
I
do?
it's like you've done it before.
Good. Okay, good.
it's,
It's,
it's, it's like you've done it before. Yeah. All right. So, all right. So I do have your LinkedIn and your website open. And when you say, uh, okay, specialty insurance focused policy management platform, especially distribution enabled, and web-based modern, helps automate a lot of workflows for both underwriters and agents and brokers. Okay, so when you say specialty insurance, what
Mhm.
I'm hearing is excess and surplus PNC. Am I in the
Most
correct?
correct. That's correct.
Okay, perfect. So in my world, I come from the admitted space. So
Hmm.
in my world, carriers had home built policy management systems that they patched and what's the word, band-aided and patched and band-aided and patched and band-aided, and by the late 2000s when I came into the industry, if you wanted to make any change to the system at Nationwide, which is where I grew up, it would take 500 grand of IT expense because they had to dig 14 levels down to a COBOL system, right? That's been bandaged 10,000 times, and make sure that nothing breaks.
Hmm.
And that the admitted space is in the process of transitioning largely to off-the-shelf systems like Guidewire and Duck Creek.
Right.
Okay, so what did the policy management world for carriers look like prior to PolicyFly?
Well, you sort of alluded to what the policy management reality has been for the insurance industry. You went probably a step even further back than some of the newer entrants like PolicyFly can even recall, the COBOL days.
Uh-huh.
The reality when we created PolicyFly, which was on the heels of working bespoke in the insurance industry going back a dozen years ago. We built our first policy management system for an MGA. It was our first client in insurance. Consumer direct. Uh, what we learned coming away from the success of that project was that Guidewire and Duck Creek, in particular, among many other now major policy management systems that carriers have at their discretion, uh, is sort of a core large system sort of takeover. And in the specialty insurance space, there's the concept of building programs. And one of the essential characteristics of a program that is rather fundamentally different from an admitted approach to the industry is that they're smaller. They're specialized. This is why they exist. And in this space, they can be fleeting. They can start from scratch often. I mean, they certainly do at some point in time. But a lot of them make technology decisions early before they've even been able to prove their strategic concept, let alone often deal in a very email and PDF-based workflow while building gross written premium, sometimes all the way up to 10 or 20 million in annual gross written premium before they even start to look at their program and think that they're ready to adopt a policy management system. They all would love to have one out of the gate, but because, again, the programs are smaller, they can get away without one for quite some time. Even at 10 or 20 million in gross written premium, the costs, you kind of alluded as well to the $500,000 number. That's on probably the lowest core operating system side that you could possibly ask for. Guidewire and Duck Creek, I don't think are going to get started at that number. I shouldn't be trying to sell their product for them, but I think you and I both know that that's not where it starts. So from a program administrator point of view in the specialty insurance space, these are not policy management systems that can be considered, nor are they sort of future forward out of the box. They're not exceptionally nimble to the sort of early, again, proof of concept world that programs live in, where they're testing out their model, they're trying to approach one coverage with one market while figuring out whether there's another market that can offer either more coverages that they can bring to bear to their agents and brokers. So they're sort of dabbling and playing around. And there needs to be this incredibly flexible space digitally in order for them to empower these strategic decisions, while also preparing their business to scale at some point in time. And that gap in terms of cost, in terms of capability, in terms of essentially just paying attention to what the differences are between programs and admitted lines of business is where we saw a huge opportunity in the industry to play a role.
Okay. So very focused on the program space.
Correct. Almost exclusively focused on the program space. And for now, the PNC space almost exclusively, though there's really no reason we couldn't expand into life and health if the right program made sense on our platform.
Okay. So I want to take a super quick parenthesis. My girlfriend makes fun of me for my phrasing is always for the listeners. When I say for the listeners, it means I'm remembering where insurance nerds come from.
Okay.
And I love that.
Before I start looking for someone else in the virtual room.
For the listeners, generally mean, or sometimes I say what I really mean, which is for the younger crowd that might not come from insurance or that might come from personalized insurance. programs is one of the defined weird terms of our industry. In commercial lines, basically a program is a set of similar types of businesses that we insure together. So a super easy example, when I was at Nationwide, Nationwide National Partners had a Burger King program. So there was one broker that did a lot of Burger Kings, which are a franchise, and basically one broker, one carrier nationwide, and Burger King franchisees, right? So basically the policy and everything is designed for the needs of specifically Burger King franchisees, right?
Yep.
And you can do it for anything. You can do it for gyms. You can, right? It
Totally.
doesn't have to be franchises either.
No, it
Uh,
doesn't.
right? I've seen before a program for Vespas,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, program is basically like a somewhat standardized commercial lines program
Yep.
for a specific
Yep.
type of business. Okay, perfect. I didn't explain
Absolutely. I
that
mean,
perfectly, but
it's a fun topic to
Mhm.
define because one, I mean, I live it day in and day out. So I'm an insurance nerd, if I can say so,
Absolutely.
regarding program insurance in particular. One of the things that is most exciting about the potential of a program is that the expertise of the underwriting team is actually real. So you talk about Vespas as a random example, right? An interesting one. A great example, you could build an expertise. Is the distributable market for Vespa insurance large enough to build a really solid program around? Probably in aggregate, there's probably enough Vespas in the United States alone for there to be multiple players in that space.
Mhm.
Maybe not too many, not as many as like hotels or Burger King franchise players, but definitely some. But it's always interesting to dig deeper. And from a policy management point of view, again, I love to nerd out on this. What I think sets us apart, what sets certainly me, I think personally apart, trying to build technology in this space. And I'll speak on behalf of our team as well. We've really tried to build a culture around this enthusiasm. We want to understand what makes the underwriting team experts in Vespas, let's say,
Okay.
as this just playing off this random hypothetical. What genuinely makes you a better underwriter of Vespas? Do you understand Vespas? Do you understand why people use Vespas, how they use
Mhm.
Vespas? When do they get in accidents using Vespas? How do they avoid getting into accidents? And how you take all that knowledge and turn it into an application that is usable across a larger swath of agents and brokers who actually work with people who have Vespas to ask them the most relevant questions that are necessary, not overbearing to the process of getting an insurance quote, but are necessary in order to provide them with competitive rates, competitive coverage. So there's this delicate balance of building expertise and knowing what you need to ask and what you don't in order to create also the best buying experience. Because although agents and brokers are obviously insurance experts and they're meant in that position to spend more time thinking about these buying decisions, they, like consumers, need to be treated as first class citizens in any sort of buying experience. And if you waste their time, that's how you lose them in the program space. So this balance of building expertise and actually knowing the insurance that you're offering from a program point of view and legitimately saying like I know Vespas better than anyone else from an again an insurance underwriting point of view, while at the same time then using a PolicyFly type system to create a buying experience that makes it easier for agents and brokers to test that expertise, to know what coverages you bring to the table, to know what price you're going to offer their client based on how many Vespas or how much money they make selling Vespa rentals or whatever it might be. That sort of landscape of building a program is just incredibly exciting to me. And beyond the PolicyFly technology, what kind of keeps me going in this industry is, and why I love this part of the space overall in this broad insurance industry, I think programs are really exciting because that expertise is real. Um, if you make it. And I think that there are certainly like ways in which programs potentially fail because that expertise isn't as real as they tell you it is. So I love kind of pulling at the threads of that dynamic and really,
Let's let's pause there for a second. I
yeah,
absolutely
please.
love how you get passionate about the topic.
Good.
Absolutely love that. And the main thing that I got from that is that in the program space, it's beyond just, hey, we built a really cool policy management system that helps you do this and this and this and this and this. It's also, hey, the very application uh, that you want the potential insurer to fill out uh, needs to really understand the market you're going after, right?
Totally.
And as an MGA, ultimately, like, okay, it's taken me years to understand what the heck an MGA is, okay? Because I came from the admitted space, right?
Yeah.
And so basically, the agent slash broker sells.
Yeah.
Super easy. They're salespeople. They get paid
Yep.
commission to sell. The carrier carries risk and capital to pay those losses. What the hell is a managing general agent or managing general underwriter? Well, to my best understanding today, an MGA or an MGU, and there's slight differences between the two, but an MGA or an MGU ultimately has underwriting expertise in something that's hard to underwrite, right?
Yep.
Maybe a deeper underwriting expertise than the carrier that actually pays for the losses,
100%.
right? So that's their underwriting expertise, whether it's technology based or whatever. So yes, if PolicyFly can plug in with my MGA, whatever type of business it is that I'm trying to do. Okay, Rethought Insurance, right? I just happen to be
Yeah.
familiar with Rethought because my friend
Yeah.
Nick Lamparelli founded them, right? Okay,
Mutual friend. Love
an
Nick.
awesome guy. Yes,
Yeah.
a founder of this podcast and current CEO of Insurance Nerds. He doesn't call himself CEO, but that's what he's doing. So basically, Rethought happened to be an insurtech MGA, but if Rethought had started as an MGA that is basically, hey, we are really good at underwriting commercial flood, but we know nothing about technology. What they would need is exactly this: is a PolicyFly
Yeah.
that can help them not only manage the policies, but also spoon feed out of them
Yeah.
how to make the application, right? How to improve the workflow.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys are very good, since you really know the space, at figuring out which MGAs maybe don't quite. And this probably, I'm guessing this happens a lot in the insurtech world, where somebody has a cool idea for a carrier and they don't launch it as a carrier, they launch it as an insurtech because it's too expensive to launch it as a carrier,
Oh
but they
yeah.
haven't really tested the hypothesis, right?
Well, you've touched on a bunch of interesting stuff, which I'll wait to
No,
jump
no,
into
no.
any of that.
I am literally just like
Yeah.
stream of consciousness. So please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, for one, the rethought example is an interesting one that we shouldn't spend too much time on, but I do want to call out, it's interesting because I think that they are a tech forward MGA. They're relatively new, which is part of sort of the newer breed of MGAs is to be tech forward. And in those instances, the build versus buy conundrum sort of often shifts to build versus buy. That's my expectation in that space. I don't know Rethought terribly well, but I know from Nick enough about their sort of age and introduction into the industry to know that they have built a lot of technology themselves, regardless of how they've applied it. And what's interesting about that is you do have an MGA guard or old guard, legacy guard, probably the more optimistic
Plenty
way
of
to look
those.
at it. And they deserve to be seen as established players. They have tenure as brokers and agents. When they create programs, they do it with deep expertise, having sold that insurance for a long time. And they're just sort of at the time they choose to become an MGA for that program, missing the operational like firepower, really, to take on, which is I think the other element beyond the underwriting alone, because there's a lot of work that goes into ushering through every application, choosing whether you're going to decline it, quote it, run background checks, whatever the underwriting process is, developing the sales relationships, et cetera. All of that's a lot of work. And carriers are trying to deploy billions of dollars in capital, depending on their size. And if you're going to build a successful program, you can build an exceptionally profitable program. But again, in this space, 20, 50, $100 million program is a massive program. Massive program. A lot of carriers are trying to bundle together $5 to $10 million profitable programs, and would love to see that sort of aggregate appetite built versus risking it with $100 million program. They're smart risk takers, right? They're smart gamblers. So that's where programs particularly play a key role, is they allow carriers to deploy capital into the specialty insurance space without all of the operational overhead and risk of building a team that they're not really interested in running, because $100 million program's massive. That's going to be a minuscule percentage of their overall deployed capital. So why own that overhead when an MGA is begging to do all that work for them? That's how I certainly see it. I think that's a fair perspective.
That's fantastic.
So a couple of
Absolutely
touch points
fantastic.
there. Yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going.
No, so I think there's this interesting dynamic in terms of like why programs exist and what is an MGA's role. Two, we do see that some of the newer insurtech based MGAs do lean a little bit more towards the build versus buy. I'd say it's still 50-50, whereas the legacy MGA players, it's almost exclusively buy versus build. And I think that that's a great decision to make. Obviously, I'm biased. I want you to buy a PolicyFly. I want to be in play. But there's an important reason why. As there is an element of creating the best policy management system that is essentially the wheel. It is the quarterback, in our opinion, of the insurance process. Whether you are a third-party data provider in this industry, you're an IoT provider, you've got satellites in space, taking snapshots of property data, whatever your potential technology play is, if it isn't policy management, it essentially has to feed into one. And when I think about policy management as a quarterback of technology in this industry, that's why. Accounting systems, whether they're built into policy management or not, depend on policy management telling them what the transaction was, what was it cost, what did it cost? If it was midterm, what was its prorated value? If it's canceled, was it short rate? Was it pro rata? Was it minimum earned premium? Policy management makes all of those decisions, whether it owns the accounting piece or not, whether it's tied into a claims management system or not. Policy management dictates every initial, every step is dictated by policy management in our perspective. So all these other pieces of technology must feed into one ultimately. And again, taking on that responsibility, I don't doubt that someone building a policy management system can get it off the ground. Where I see failure over time is in maintaining it.
I wanna pause you super quick.
Please.
So Loop. I
Yeah.
think that they are an MGA by legal status. Currently only in Texas. Personal lines MGA doing auto.
Yeah.
With a whole different way to underwrite it. Carrie Ann Nadeau ran this podcast for a few episodes. Massive respect for Carrie Ann.
Totally, me too.
She recently had significant layoffs.
I saw.
And she spoke at 3 weeks ago in Fort Lauderdale at Rice. I happen to be wearing the t-shirt today. What are the chances? Okay. So she spoke from the heart. It was amazing. The speech is on the Insurance Nerds YouTube channel, but here's why I bring it up. Part of her speech, she said, it was only 15 minutes. And part of it, she said, lessons learned. Don't go and build your own policy management system. You guys told me not to.
Hmm.
And I said, oh, no, I've got this, that was an expensive mistake, lesson learned.
Yep.
And now that you're explaining how the policy management system, and it makes perfect sense to me coming from the admitted world. Yeah, the policy management system is the basic infrastructure
Yeah.
of our policy, right?
Yeah.
It plugs to everything, right? So yes, you have
Totally.
to get that right.
Yeah.
And if brilliant MIT grads like Karian Nadeau, uh, with I don't know how many millions of dollars Loop raised, uh, looking back, shouldn't have built it themselves, and
Yeah.
that's for auto, right? Like that's not for a super complex or a much more complex commercialized product. Um, but yes, it makes perfect sense to me. And I really love the way that you put it with the satellite example, right? If your expertise is this technology or this underwriting, not policy management system creation,
Yeah.
let us handle that piece of
Absolutely.
it so that
Yep.
you can focus on what you're really good about, because this is a lot more complex than you think.
100%. And what we have as a company that is and I guess I'm speaking on behalf of every policy management system trying to build the greatest platform out there. What we all have that those in that situation need to reconsider is the distinct advantage of continuing to build with the next client and the next client and the next client. The amount of reps we have building programs outpaces anyone building policy management for themselves because they're gonna try to build it once. And I don't doubt that you're gonna get it off the ground. But the moment you attempt to build on top of it is where you're really going to start to experience some frustration and pressure that it is going to hurt. And even just identifying these things ahead of time, because we work with so many great clients in the specialty insurance space and we live and breathe it. We don't let anything else about our business selling in a line of insurance, right? Needing to go get carrier capacity. Those are two of the most important things an MGA could possibly focus on doing and building expertise around, neither of which have anything to do about building a policy management system. So while any of these companies is out there focusing on what they're selling, how they go get capacity in order to sell something, we're building policy management every single day. We are spending hours every single day. We have a team of right now roughly 25 team members, and we've got an exceptionally high quality team. The average tenure on our team it's kind of crazy. I've got the gray hairs to prove it. The average tenure is probably somewhere in like the 4 to 5 year range now, and that is the median across our entire company. Co-founders have been doing this for a dozen years. Median team member PolicyFly is probably approaching their 5 year, and this is all we've done every day in that time span, and it pays massive dividends in this space to be able to take a fresh crack at it that many times with the same team. When another quick call to caution, as well as keeping software engineers happy and feeling supported, is also an expertise that we had coming into building PolicyFly. We were a digital product studio before we were an insurance focused company. We had almost 30 engineers in Manhattan office. So we knew how to work with engineers and how to keep them focused in a way that was balanced between the software that they were constantly trying to learn and the business that we were trying to apply that technology towards. So we have also a craft for building the team in a direction that's sustainable. There's a hidden expertise that I think is fair to call out that the industry is still trying to catch up on from a technology point of view in terms of what does it take to retain software talent. I think any carrier would recognize that as something that's hard to do. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because if you lock them in on one platform and one project, it can stagnate very quickly. There is an expertise in how you use software talent. And if you don't know what I even mean by that, then I promise you we're going to do it better than you are.
Uh, what what is the implementation like? Especially so if I'm a brand new MGA, yeah, this is a dream come true. Like, let's get you on from the beginning. We'll talk about pricing. But if I have an existing book of business, right? If I have an existing MGA and our systems just aren't doing it, whether it's Excel and Outlook or whether we have an actual system, what is the implementation like? How painful is it going to be to replace the engine while the planes is in flight?
Well, fortunately, the program space is also again aided by smaller programs. So the migration doesn't have to be a technical one often. It could just be a series of renewing onto PolicyFly. That's probably the most popular approach
Mm-hmm.
to bringing business onto the platform for an existing program. If it's greenfield, then we're starting from scratch. So, we're good to go out of the gate. But the implementation life cycle is something we've worked exceptionally hard on. We raised capital 2 years ago with Bain as our lead fundraiser. We are also backed by Sousa Ventures and Viewpoint. We're Y Combinator as well. So we've got exceptional capital partners who understand this industry, and we've poured both our talent and our money into lowering the life cycle to bring clients online. So we have it now down to a 2-week planning cycle where we use our expertise to fully understand what your program is or is trying to do, depending on whether it exists right now or not. And then, depending on the quality with which your documentation and your rating is finalized, we can bring you online in 2 weeks. So it's a 4-week timeline to be online with PolicyFly. And if it is an existing line of business that we have worked with before, and our existing models are ripe for your business, we can actually turn you on in less than 2 weeks, which we're super excited about. And that's where the industry is going, is you've got to be able to move faster. You've got to give underwriters an opportunity to throw their coverage online and see how it fares and make changes and moves from there. It's an evolutionary process. You can't spend 6 months building a program just to get it out the door. You're whether it's 2 weeks or 6 months, the moment you start using an online platform, you're going to realize all the minor tweaks and changes that you need. And that's just sort of the program space. Like, those are the things you usually do by hand anyways. This isn't anything new to underwriters. I'm not telling them how to do their job. They know this reality. Little tweaks in coverage that just need to be easy to deliver. And if you're going to digitize your workflow, those subtle changes can't be something that becomes a 3-month affair because you didn't talk about it in planning. That sort of waterfall process has to be a thing of the past. It's got to be a lot more agile. And so turning things on faster is really core to our success.
Okay. What is the pricing like? And especially if I'm a brand new program, yeah, what is the pricing like?
So there are two levers that I think we'll prefer in this instance to talk privately about. But there is an implementation lever, there is a licensing fee lever. It is certainly our goal to be driving costs down, and there is absolutely a direct correlation between improvements in life cycle and improvements in cost. It would be to our advantage to consume as much of the industry as we possibly could and charge as little as possible to activate on PolicyFly. So we're highly motivated to make that a reality. It takes time. This is a complicated industry. Program insurance in particular is specialized for a reason. So that expertise does come at an early cost in getting a client online, but we're doing our best to make it as small as possible.
Okay, perfect. Uh, what are the clients saying? What's the feedback you're getting from the clients? What kind of ROI are they seeing? And from our perspective, feel free to use client company names if you can. If you can't, then that's fine.
I'll speak certainly holistically. I think our clients are very engaged and very excited about the partnership that we have. We take from the onset of planning, and then I think really most importantly, well beyond planning, from implementation through the entire life cycle, going live on PolicyFly is where all the fun starts, not where the project ends. So we don't take a no code, low code approach. We're very hands-on right now. Part of the advantage of working with a company of our size and the state that we're in, we're really, I think, well balanced. We've got years of expertise, but we're driving our own solution. We don't work with consultants right now. We don't let other people deploy our product. We take a hands-on approach. So you get essentially, in our opinion, the cream of the crop service for this type of product in the specialty insurance space. And we stand behind that. We are working with clients like Bell and Clements, which is part of Munich Re Specialty. Munich Re is obviously one of the largest names in the industry, so we're very proud of that relationship. We work with Assured Partners, Tisers. We also have recently onboarded Shepherd Campello and White Oak, who are other cover holders and syndicates. White Oak being a syndicate in London. So it's really cool too. One of the advantages of taking this approach in policy management, of being distribution enabled, is that we have multiple players on our platform, not just, again, we're not just situated inside of a carrier. So we have carriers or syndicates, as they might be called in London, who also give binders or provide a cover holder relationship to essentially an MGA. So we'll have the market, we'll have the MGA, we'll have brokers from even a wholesale perspective who are representing and producing relationships with retail agents here in the US, particularly. And then you have the agents themselves who represent the customer. So you have, depending on how you slice it, 4 or 5 personas on PolicyFly. And what I think, what I know that that's doing is it's driving our knowledge of policy management even faster, because we're not getting just the internal feedback around what underwriters need. We're getting the distribution feedback. We're seeing the conversation on PolicyFly between distribution and underwriting. And that's supercharging our own growth because we can see for ourselves instead of third party from what our clients are telling us. We're actually on the platform working with them to service the business. So we know directly what the opportunities are in each market, whether it's transportation or property, to build a better buying experience, a better underwriting experience. And that gives us this knowledge advantage that we're taking full advantage of.
Makes perfect sense. We talked pricing, we talked implementation, we talked client feedback. Origin story. You happened to mention that you guys were a what did you call it?
A digital product studio.
Okay, so basically you were creating software.
Creating software
And
in New York City.
How did you realize that this was a need in the industry and that you guys were the right ones to create this?
We were in New York City. We were, again, about a team of 30 engineers and project managers working in an office, crowded office in Manhattan. This is going back to 2000. We started working together 2010, pretty much. We were at our peak probably 2016, 2015. Our number one clients were Google. We were working with special projects with Google, a huge office in New York. We were working with the Supreme Committee of Qatar on their World Cup website. We were the web platform. That was an inherited relationship from another client of ours. So we were all over the place. And most of our larger clients were in the entertainment industry, given our situation or geographic placement in New York. An opportunity came to the table to work with Music Pro Insurance, a program we love, a great example of a program. This is a leading MGA for music and instrument equipment insurance. If you're an amateur musician or a professional, any insurance around lots of gear, heavy gear, is going to be hard to find. If you've got a renter's policy, it's going to be weekly covered. If you've got a homeowner's policy, you don't really want potentially $25,000 in expensive music and instrument equipment, sort of holding down or putting your homeowner's policy in any sort of threat. You want to sort of siphon that off. And they've got fantastic rates and fantastic coverage, arguably best in the industry. They came to us, this is 12 years ago now, with an opportunity to rebuild their platform. They had run up against some technology issues from their first partner that had done the original implementation. And I think it's safe to say we knocked it out of the park. Their team has been a fantastic partner along the way. They were the first customer onboarded onto PolicyFly, and a huge partner in sort of teaching us the ropes beyond that initial program. And we were off to the races. We disbanded. We sort of unwound that prior company. We took the profit that we had in that last year and a half and took a smaller team and pumped every dollar we had into building PolicyFly from the ground up. And then client by client, it became a reality that this was who we were going to become. And we've been doing it for 6 years solid.
6 years is a veteran of the insurance industry. By the way, how did you end up in Columbus, Ohio?
The long story is, met a girl in New York. She's from an hour north. And I am from Los Angeles originally. I had a real hard time leaving New York City. And we went to Chicago for a minute. And then we were right away thinking, if we're going to have another kid, we had one in Chicago, we got to get closer to family, got to get a house. And I didn't want to move all the way back to the West Coast. Ohio seemed like the best option. And I was pleasantly surprised. I did not know. It's almost embarrassing at this point. I'm so, and I say this humbly, I'm so heavily involved in the Columbus and Ohio insurance scene.
You had no idea it was an insurance hub when you moved there.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea. I mean, like literally as the planes
landed, giant insurance hub.
Oh, nationwide. Got it. You know, and I didn't even realize Progressive is Cleveland. It's like, wow.
What year did you move? Did you move to Ohio?
2019.
Okay,
about 7 months before COVID.
Okay, so it was not only had it been an insurance hub for a long time, it has been an insurtech hub for like the last 5 years. That is lucky move.
Very lucky move.
Welcome to flyover country. Awesome.
Right.
Hopefully. Well, here's the ever important question.
No more flyover country. Columbus is a destination now.
For insurance, it absolutely is.
Absolutely.
When you land at the Columbus airport and you see ads for what's their name?
Bold Penguin.
For Bold Penguin.
That's right.
They got a great airport ad. And then like half the city is nationwide branded. So you know that you're in the insurtech area.
That's right.
The most important question: are you a Buckeye fan now when it comes to college football?
I think by osmosis, I have become a Buckeye fan. I'm certainly rooting for them. They're a lot more interesting than my alma mater, Syracuse, who hasn't been relevant in quite some time.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Now Syracuse tends to have a really good basketball team, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think as much football as basketball, maybe more football than basketball. They're great at everything. How big a
Okay.
college sports fan are you, Tony?
Not I went to Iowa State Cyclones, so
Oh,
yeah, not big.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I said Syracuse, you looked puzzled.
I know it's in New York.
There you
I
go.
know
That's right.
it's orange.
That's
Uh,
correct. You nailed
yeah.
it. They are the Orange. That's their name.
Yes. But I know that more from playing video games than from actually
There you
following
go.
like real
There
college
you
football.
go.
Uh, so all right. So I'm looking at the PolicyFly website. Fast, beautiful, modern, complete policy management, automated programs, seamless distribution, and enhanced service. There's a video that explains it in 90 seconds. Uh, automate submissions for your agents, data-driven underwriting that fuels growth. By the way, it looks beautiful, like based on the
Good. Sell
screenshots.
it, Tony.
Uh,
Sell it.
by the way, to the listeners, I do not get commission.
Yeah, no, he does
Just
not.
just so you know, I don't charge to come on the podcast either.
No.
All right. Any program on the fly. Perfect. So yeah, like it looks real easy to for the listeners to get an idea. It's policyfly.com. It looks real easy to get an idea what it looks like, and I'm guessing to book a conversation or a demo. Uh, okay, I like the page about your approach. So different by design, and you talk about why each program is unique and how you guys really understand programs, how you think about the design and the build
Yeah.
and the grow, uh, and it's and integrations with a bunch of platforms, including Google Cloud, Stripe, Hazard Hub, Watson, Plate, etc., LexisNexis, etc., CoreLogic, etc., and
There's
Ivan.
quite a few more now too.
Yeah,
That page needs to be updated. But
perfect.
yeah, it's an arms race. It's an arms race. Integrations are everything in this industry and will become a major indicator of who are the successful technologies in this
Perfect.
space. Because if
Um,
you're isolated, it's only a matter of time. Even the largest are going to run out of breathing room if they're not integrating with other platforms that can then use their capabilities elsewhere.
I agreed completely, and that's something that for our industry has been for like tech companies from the before insurtech era. That's been a hard thing to understand. Uh,
Correct.
all right.
It's a hard thing to do. The industry's the technology is more capable now than it's ever been.
So, Michael, only one more question that
Okay.
from like my normal set of questions. Um, this podcast will likely come out on July 30th. That date could get moved around, but it likely July 30th. Um, so keep that in mind. Any new features or anything new that's coming down the development pipeline that you're excited about that you can already talk about?
Absolutely. We strive at PolicyFly to consume every submission. And we find that to be a very important mission because where programs sort of fail is when one submission sort of throws your entire workflow off. And in this space, there are levels of specialty within a program. Not every property risk is as risky as another property. Not every transportation client has as many vehicles as another. And it is essential that we are able to consume every submission that our clients are trying to process in order to take their program to the next level. And we want to be a major catalyst in that process. The feature that's going to help us get there is one in particular is the email ingestion capability that we are rolling out. We are using AI technology, bleeding edge AI technology, able to consume and initiate the application process based on an email and its associated attachments, which from an agent point of view is a massive step forward because the worst thing you can ask an agent in this landscape is to rekey the information that they already have. and they have every right to expect you to handle that email. And if you're an underwriting team that has to start with that email, which is most programs right now not using a PolicyFly type platform, we want to talk to you because there is a brighter future ahead for you to take advantage of.
Perfect. So would it be fair to kind of close up by saying MGAs, MGUs, program administrators, if you don't absolutely love both your policy management system, your intake, and your processes in general, both for your underwriters and for your agents, then you owe it to yourself to at least take a look at PolicyFly.
Love it. I couldn't agree more.
Fantastic. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. This has been super, super interesting. I love episodes about MGAs because I learn something every time since I don't come from that space, and it's such an interesting space. It looks like what you guys are doing is really, really cool. Without question, the specialty side of the industry needed some love.
Totally.
Right? The InsurTech revolution at first focused a lot on personal lines, then on small commercial, a
Yeah.
lot on distribution, and now it seems that we're doing a lot more when it comes to the infrastructure that things actually run on. And it's wonderful to see great infrastructure being created for the specialty space, which is so much more complicated compared to admitted. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for the work you guys
Thanks,
are doing.
Tony.
Look forward to have you back on the show in a couple of years as things continue to
Let's
evolve.
do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.